today to our lecture in medical ethics. Is the voice clear? My voice clear? Okay, thank you. So let's start. I'm Dr. Nisreen Kamal. طيب. السلام عليكم. نبتدي نشوف الاوتلاين بتاعتنا بتاعت النهارده. We will discuss the introduction and the history of medical ethics, the principle of healthcare ethics, and ethics in medical practice, and discussion, problem solving, MCQ, cases. First of all, do you agree with this? Ethics is important, but our curriculum is already too crowded and there is no room for ethics teaching. What do you think? What do you think? If we ask the healthcare workers and they respond this way, ethics is important, but our curriculum is already too crowded. There is no room for ethics teaching. Do you agree? Do you agree with this statement? Okay, I have two no only. Yes, agree? I have 3 no, 4, 5, and 1 yes. 5 no and 1 yes. Type. 6, 7, 8, 9 till 10. I will stop. Okay, 10 to 1. Fair. Okay. Type. Type. Do you agree with the second sentence? As long as the physician is a knowledgeable and skillful clinician, ethics doesn't matter. What do you think, بقى? As long as the physician is a knowledgeable and skillful clinician, ethics doesn't matter. Wrong, no, no, yes, okay, no, 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 yes, yes, Dr. Amin, yes, 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 okay, very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Type. Can you answer this question? Who decides what is ethical? Who decides what is ethical? Okay, I want to hear all, يعني use the inbox chat to write all your thoughts. And then I will ask this same question by the end of the lecture. نسأل تاني في الآخر على نفس الحاجة ونشوف. Answers policy. Some Dr. Ziad say human rights. Behave. What else? Who decides what's ethical? Laws and rules. Okay, very good. Society. No problem. Okay, Islam, community, ethical committee, religion, culture, situation, no problem. Ethical, culture, hospital, the hospital, no problem. Islam, society. Okay. Type. Policy. Okay. Humanity. Okay. Like, if I'm going to say one statement, you agree or not? Achieving international agreement on controversial ethical issues is not an easy task. Do you agree with this statement? that achieving international agreement on controversial ethical issue is not an easy task? Yes. Achieving international agreement on ethical issue is not an easy task. Do you agree with this? Agree or not? One agree. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Badawi. Dr. Niveen agree. 3 agree. 4 5 Dr. Shuru. Dr. Hussam, yes, agree. Agree, Dr. Amira. So today we are going to try to understand the basic or principles of ethical guideline in medical ethics to help us solve some problem or discuss some case problem or ethical dilemma. I hope you agree it is not an easy task. Time. Do you agree with this statement? Varies from one society to another and even within the same society. Sure. Yes, thank you, Dr. Fatima. Dr. Amani, yes. Agree, yes. Okay, yes, very good. It varies from one society to another and even within the same society. Okay. Type. In some countries, there is a considerable interest in the ethical issues posed مثلا by advanced medical technologies. Some other countries, they do not have access to this technology. These ethical issues do not arise. Although these differences may seem significant, the similarities are far greater. So we agree that there is a difference from one society to another, and even within the same society. Do you agree that we can find similarities to develop some international guideline for medical ethics? Can we, although there is differences between countries? I'm going to write my question on the chat inbox. Yes, we can. Thank you, Dr. Shuru, Dr. Amini. Sometimes, yes. Yes, Dr. Samar, or Samar, Dr. Abdul Latif, Dr. Mahmoud, yes. I need 4 agree, yes. Type. Medical ethics has evolved from theoretical concepts of moral behavior, as some of you said, to firm legal standards of practice meant to guide healthcare professionals. Yes, we have found similarities. We have found similarities that allowed us to develop some legal standards or guideline that we should all follow as a medical professional. It seems that most human beings can agree on some fundamental ethical practices or principles. Can you tell me one of these fundamental ethical principles before we discuss them in our lecture? Can you tell me one of these ethical principles before we are going to discuss them in details in the lecture? But if anyone know, can share with us one of the ethical principles. Of course, privacy, respect, yes. Privacy, yes. Patient protection, confidence, patient safety. Okay. Okay. Patient dignity. Okay. Confidentiality. Very good, Dr. Omar. Very good. Right of information. Very good. Okay. Okay. طيب. Does medical ethics change over time? Does medical ethics change over time? Does medical ethics change over time? Some of you say yes, some said no. I'm going to count the yes more or the no. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, yes, yes, yes. Yes. Okay. Who is saying yes? Think about the history. Who said no? Think about the history of medical ethics. So, for example, in the past, physician had the right and the duty to decide how patients should be treated, and there was no obligation to obtain patients' informed consent. So, in the past, the physician had the right and the duty to decide how patients should be treated, and there was no obligation to obtain the patient's informed consent. Is this the case now? So your answer, is this the case now? Can the physician decide how the patient will be treated without taking his consent? Can we do this now? Is it accepted from medical ethics point of view? Can we do this? Of course we cannot. Of course we cannot. So if I am going to repeat the previous slide, does medical ethics change over time? You are going to say, yes, Dr. Shuru, thank you. Yes, of course, Dr. Abdurrahman, yes, because it changed already. In the past, we didn't take medical informed consent. Now we cannot start a treatment without the informed consent. Okay. Right. In 2005, the Declaration on the Right of the Patients begins with this statement. The relationship between physicians, their patient, and broader societies has undergone significant changes in recent time. While a physician should always act according to his conscience, always in the best interests of the patient, equal effort must be made to guarantee the patient autonomy and justice. What is autonomy and what is justice, and we are going to discuss them in details in our lecture. But can you share with me what's your thought about autonomy? What is autonomy? So the Declaration of 2005 of the Right of the Patient, we should respect, guarantee the patient autonomy. Yes, very good. To receive, okay, the right, justice. No, I'm asking about autonomy, Dr. Omar, Dr. Osama. Yes, thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Okay. Yes, thank you, Dr. Osama. Okay. I'm not going to say the correct answer because we are going to take it. We are going to discuss in details. طيب. In medicine, the topic of ethics began اللي هو 2500 years old with the oath of Hippocrates. First, do not harm. This implies that despite best intention to provide effective care, errors. Do you agree that sometimes we have a good intention to provide good medical care and so we unfortunately error can occur? Do you agree? Thank you, Dr. Ziad, Dr. Abdul Latif, Dr. Shuru. Yes, 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 Dr. Amani, Dr. Osama, Dr. Hussein. But in a human profession, unfortunately, sometimes those errors can be fatal. So, Hippocrates, known as the father of modern medicine, outlined the foundational virtues that any present or future physician should maintain them. Virtues included the basics of autonomy, beneficence, justice, and non-maleficence. He also stressed the patient privacy, as you all shared with me, and joining into a partnership with patient to create a health plan that would be best for each individual. So he spoke about the basics of autonomy, the basics of beneficence, the basics of justice, and the basics of non-maleficence. And he stressed also about the patient privacy, 2,500 years old. Plus, in 1767, a patient sued and won against his surgeon for breaking his leg as part of a surgical repair without prior consent. So, also in 1914, a woman sued her surgeon for removing a fibroid during an abdominal surgery for another issue, which created the ruling that every human being of adult years and sound mind has the right to determine what shall be done with his own body, and a surgeon who performs an operation without his patient's consent commits an assault for which he is liable in damages. So as early as 1767 and 1914, there were cases with medical ethics issue. And the problem began back in 1947, following the Second World War. Discussion of ethical standards turned from physician-patient concern towards social issues, especially after the awareness of the Nazis' human experiments in the concentration camp and the Japanese experiment in China and Tuskegee controversy in the United States. Human rights cases were widely publicized, creating the need for stronger ethical standards. The World Medical Association, an international organization that seeks to represent all physicians regardless of nationality and specialty, and its role to establish general standards in medical ethics. In medical ethics that are applicable worldwide. What did she do بقى? From its beginning in 1947, it has worked to prevent any recurrence of the unethical conduct exhibited by physicians in Nazi Germany and elsewhere. Its first task of the Medical World Association was to update the Hippocratic Oath and they adopted the Declaration of Geneva in 1948. Since 1948, it has been revised several times. So the first task after 1947 was the Declaration of Geneva that was adopted in 1948. We don't want what happened in the Second War to be repeated. So they found some ethical to update the Hippocratic Oath in form of Declaration of Geneva in 1948. Then the second task was the development of an international code of medical ethics in 1949. And since that, it has been revised also several times. So first of all, it was medical ethics in the form of Hippocratic Oath. Then Declaration of Geneva in 1948. Then International Code of Medical Ethics in 1949 with multiple revisions till now. And then the task of developing ethical guidelines for research on human subject, the famous Declaration of Helsinki in 1964. And also it has been revised several times. So, can you tell me 3 important steps in the development of ethical guideline, of medical ethical guideline? So I'm putting a question in the chat inbox. Think about it and answer it, please. Dr. Ziad, thank you. I received only 2 answers, so I'm going to repeat the important history of medical ethics. طيب. First of all, 2,500 years there was the oath of Hippocrates of first do not harm. Then in 1948, the Declaration of Geneva by the World Medical Association. Then the International Code of Medical Ethics, which was adopted in 1949. Then in 1964, the famous Declaration of Helsinki. So I'm going to write, very good, Dr. Nazik, I'm going to write the date and you tell me what happened in this. 1948. يلا benchmark 1948. Okay. In relation to medical ethics طبعا. Only Dr. Ziad is interested in relation to medical ethics in 1948. What happened? You don't like history. Yes, thank you, Dr. Nazik. Yeah, yes. Dr. Ziad and Dr. Nazik bas are interested in history for the summer. Okay, join them. I need 5 correct answers for each question, please. We're going to another point. Is that in my voice? Can you hear it? Is it clear now? Yeah, is it clear for you now? Maybe because I am writing a lot my question in the chat inbox. I'm not speaking all the time. So in 1964, what happened? Yes, very good, Dr. Ziad. Yes. Okay. Clearly, we need to have a thorough understanding of our own ethical behavior and to avoid the behavior that become ethical violation. Complying with ethical standard is important because healthcare is a profession that impact the lives of people, their families, and even our own reputation. Okay, so we have to comply to ethical standards. Agree that we should all comply to ethical standards. Even though case managers acknowledge their need to make ethical decisions in clinical settings, they may not have received special training for doing so. The case manager is a healthcare professional with an interdisciplinary scope of practice who frequently has to deal with complicated ethical decisions. Do you have one? Do you have case manager? To be an effective and ethical case manager requires that the professional possesses the education, skills, moral character, and experience required to render appropriate services based on sound principle of practice. Because the role of case manager inherently deals with challenges in healthcare delivery, case manager must abide by their professional code of conduct and use it to guide their professional behavior and decision making. So we want to know the ethical standards and be able to use them in our ethical dilemma cases that we can meet every day. So, how do individuals decide what is ethical? Yeah, this is a very open question. I'm open to all your thought because it's very wide scope. How do each one of us, when is facing problem of ethical dilemma, decide what is ethical? How do this? Okay, Dr. Nazak, according to community standards. Okay, for you. Job standards, no problem. Very good. Okay. What else? What else? I think it differs from one to another. So how do we decide usually what is ethical? Because I'm going to have a long discussion with you about this. Value, background, culture, yes. Totally agree. International guideline, totally agree. Okay. Type. If I'm going to put it like this, what is ethical? Sometimes we have rational approach and sometimes non-rational approach. If we follow ethical standards, this is a rational approach or a non-rational approach. If we follow, as Dr. Ziad or Dr. Nazik said, follow standards, is this a rational approach or non-rational? So I have 5 saying said it is a rational approach. Dr. Hussein, Dr. Tagri, Dr. Jana, Dr. Nazik, okay, Dr. Ziad. This is a rational approach, Dr. Mahmoud, okay. طب, can you give me an example, Dr. Mahmoud? Okay, can you give me an example of non-rational approach in considering ethical dilemma? So if I want to follow the standards or the international guideline, I'm using the rational approach. طب what about بقى non-rational approach? Because I want you to know what are the non-rational approach. So when someone is doing what we said, he is following the non-rational approach. Yes, Dr. Nazir, but I'm asking about يعني not doing something non-ethical. I'm saying you have already a case study, okay? And you are asked as a case manager to say what is best to do, or best approach. And you are going to follow the non-rational approach to guide you to answer the case problem. Okay. طيب, I'm going to show you the option that I have. So non-rational approach is one of the following: obedience, imitation, feeling and desire, intuition, and habit. So what is following the non-rational approach through obedience, for example, or imitation? What is imitation? Obedience. Imitation, yes, imitation is, yes, we are imitating others. Type obedience. So I'm going to discuss every one in detail. Obedience is a common way of making ethical decision, especially by those who work within an authoritarian structure. Morality consists in following the rules or instruction for those in authority, whether or not you agree with them. So I am going to make the ethical decision according to the hierarchy, what I have been told to do. I am in an authoritarian structure. I'm going to follow the rules or the instruction without whether or not you agree with them. Clear? Is this clear? طيب. Imitation is similar to obedience in that it subordinates one's judgment, يعني, but in morality consists in following the example of role model. So if I'm going to make an ethical decision by following the hierarchy only without discussing, without thinking, without even agree, I'm doing obedience, non-rational approach. If I'm following bardo without thinking, without agreeing, my role model, I'm imitating others. This is the imitation non-rational approach. طيب. Sometimes بقى I am taking the moral or the ethical decision making by doing what is right because I feel it is right. And this is wrong because I feel this is wrong. So I'm following my feeling, my desire. So we are saying if you are going to follow your feeling or your desire of what is right and what is wrong, you are doing a non-rational approach for ethical decision. Clear? Clear? Yep. All of those examples till now are non-rational approach for following out, for taking an ethical decision. And intuition, this is it is similar to desire in that it is entirely subjective. This is an immediate perception of the right way. حدث زي ما بنقول. I feel this is the right. يعني not because my desire يعني but I have something كده above natural that feel that this is I have to follow this. I have to do this. Non-rational. And the habit. I'm doing it by the habit. All these are non-rational approach. All these are non-rational approach. Sometimes we should think about them if we have a big ethical dilemma and I don't know what to do, and it is not detailed in the ethical guideline or regulation. So let's repeat. How do individuals decide what is ethical? Two big approaches. The people decide what is ethical through two big approaches. What are these two approaches? Two approaches. What are these two approaches? And from each one we will divide it. Two approaches to decide what is ethical. What are these two approaches? We have two approaches, rational and non-rational approach. Yes, I know in the slide, yes. Yes, yeah, doctor, I know this is in the slide. I'm يعني helping them to answer it. Okay. The non-rational approach are those five: obedience, imitation, feeling and desire, intuition, and habit. Obedience, as we said, is way of making ethical decision, especially by those who work within authoritarian structure. Morality consists in following the rules or the instruction in the authority, whether or not you agree with them. Imitation, we are following a role model. I have no judgment about right or wrong. This is my role model. I'm going to follow. Feeling with desire, very subjective, and intuition, برضو, very subjective. What is right is what I feel it's right, and what is wrong, what I feel it's wrong. And habit, I'm going to do as usual. طيب, what about بقى rational approach? As Dr. Nazik and Dr. Ziad said, rational approach is the search for well-founded rules that can serve us as basis for making moral decision. يعني we need rules, guideline, any form, any sort of guideline. Okay? The second rational approach when we are analyzing the consequences or the outcome of alternative action, the right action will be that produces the best outcome. Of course, يعني طبعا sometimes we may have a problem with the definition of the good outcome طبعا. And the third rational approach is to use the ethical principle. يبقى الأول we think about the rules. All people are equal. For example, I'm going to find some well-founded rules, ground rules. And then I'm going to think about the consequences. I'm thinking I want a very good outcome. And the third approach will be use the ethical principles that we are going to discuss in details as the basis for making moral decisions. It applies these principles to particular cases or situations in order to determine what is the right thing to do, taking into account a rules and consequences. So I'm going to do a little exercise here. I'm going to write method of approach, and you are going to tell me, is it a rational approach or non-rational approach? So let's review them together. The non-rational approach: obedience, imitation, feeling and desire, intuition and habit. The rational approach is use the well-founded rules, think about the outcome or consequences, and use the ethical principles. All those three are rational approach. The four principles in particular: respect for autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. Those have been identified as the most important for ethical decision-making in medical practice. So the steps to achieve a rational approach is, first of all, determine if the issue is an ethical one. Consult authoritative sources such as the Medical Association Code of Ethics, policies, respected colleague, to see how physicians generally deal with such issue. Number 3, consider alternative solution in light of principles and value that uphold and their likely consequences. يبقى see the rule, see أول problem إنها ethical problem, refer to rules, guideline, principle, think about the solution from the perspective of consequences and good outcome, discuss your proposed solution with those whom it will affect, make your decision and act on it, and then evaluate your decision. So if you are going to follow the rational approach, first of all, I have a problem. Then I'm going to decide, is this an ethical problem, ethical one, ethical medical ethic problem, a dilemma? I'm going to refer to the code of ethics, policies, respected colleague, my colleagues, and then think about how I'm going to deal with it. Think about alternative solution in light of principle and consequences. Then I'm going to discuss the proposed solution with those whom it will affect. I'm going to make my decision, and finally I'm going to evaluate it. Is it clear? Is it clear? I'm saying, is it clear, Dr. Nazik? Is it clear? Okay. So I'm opening the discussion for this. What are the non-rational approaches? Thank you, Dr. Summer or Samir, I don't know. What are the non-rational approaches? Yes, if I am. Yes, Dr. Jana, very good. Dr. Ziad, Dr. Adel, very good. Very good. Dr. Mahmoud, very good. Dr. Adel, very good. So at least each one of you remember one of the five. Because if we know the non-rational approach, we are not going to follow them. Inshallah, we are all going to follow the rational. Rafet, thank you. Thank you. Jana, thank you. Right. Obedience, imitation, feeling and desire, intuition and habit. No one right obedience, no one right habit. Most of you shared اللي هو imitate. لا دكتور جانا right جانا obedience. Yes, thank you, Dr. Ziad. What do you think is the most common one that each of us follow it? From your practice, from your point of view, يعني. You have a different perspective, يعني. Some of you said obedience, some intuition. From your point of view, which is the most non-rational approach? Imitation, yes, imitation. For the female, I think a female also, يعني the problem of feeling and desire. What do you think? Is there a difference? Sex difference? Gender difference? Do you think there will be? Might be, يعني. I think female might use the feeling, intuition, desire, habit. Male more, يعني I think role model. I think they imitation. يعني from my point of view. Female obedience, okay. And desire. Male are busy, so they are imitating. Okay, role model. They have the role model. Football players. Yeah. I don't know role model, the medical profession for male now. Type. So if I'm going to say them in for one word, type obedience, following the rule or instruction for those in authority, whether or not you agree. Imitation, morality consists in following the example of the role model. Feeling or desire, what is right is what I feel right. Intuition is desire, like desire, in that it is entirely subjective. Habit, I'm going to do as usual. طيب, what are the rational approach بقى? Who is going to remember the rational approach? We are going to follow, inshallah. Okay. Yes, very good. Okay. طيب, rational approach that I hope that we will be able to follow. Search for a well-founded rules. Think about the consequences, the outcome, because the right action is the one that produces the best outcome. Uses ethical principles زي الjustice والإيه beneficence والauthority that we are going back to discuss now. So the principle of autonomy, it is the ability to make decision for oneself, also known as, you have said, self-government, the right of individuals to make decision about their own health care. When I have asked you about, did medical ethics change over time? Some of you said yes and some said no. And then we discussed that physicians in the past هم اللي decided the care of the patient or the health plan. They didn't take informed consent, which is now not accepted. So medical ethics changed by time, and now we are respecting the principle of autonomy. So the right of individual to make decision about their own health care is principle in medical ethics and very well respected. Respect for autonomy requires that patients be told the truth about their condition and be informed about the risks and benefits of treatment in order for them to make informed decisions. So I'm going to make a decision for my health care. I'm a patient, I'm empowered, which help me to take informed decision. You respect my autonomy. You should tell me the truth about the risk, the benefit, the plan. You should discuss me, the healthcare plan, and take my consent. Okay? Under the law, they are permitted as patients to refuse treatment. Even the best and most reliable information indicates that treatment would be beneficial unless their action may have a negative impact on the well-being of another individual. This conflict set the stage for ethical dilemma. So we give the patient the autonomy, but sometimes they refuse beneficial treatment. So we are going to have some case study what to do in these cases. The concept of autonomy has evolved from physician, by time it changed as we discussed, physician who held the decision-making authority, to patient empowered to participate in making decision about their own care, to patient now heavily armed with internet resources who demand their own choice in any decision making. يبقى medical ethics changed over time. The physician held the authority. Now the patients are empowered to make the decision, even they are heavily empowered with the internet resources that they demand their own choice. Autonomy, however, does not contradict responsibility, because healthcare is a partnership between the provider and the recipient of care. Each owes the other a position of partner and respect in healthcare decision-making. Physician or any healthcare professional cannot make a unilateral healthcare decision without the consent of competent adult. So the decision-making in the healthcare plan is a partnership, okay, between the patient and the provider. Before going to the discussion question, do you want me to repeat the autonomy, or is it clear for you? Because I'm going to discuss the principle. Yes, طبعا Dr. Nazak. I have. So let's start the discussion and see if this is clear or not. Autonomy in medical ethics refers to the obligation of healthcare professional to act in the best interest of their patient, or the right of patient to make their own decision about their medical care, or number C, the duty of healthcare professional to maintain confidentiality, or number D, the principle of fairness and equality in healthcare. يبقى autonomy in medical ethics refers to number A, obligation of healthcare professional to act in the best interest of their patients. Number B, the right of patient to make their own decision about their medical care. Number C, the duty of healthcare professional to maintain patient confidentiality. Number D, the principle of fairness and equality in healthcare. What do you think? I have 2 answers only. Is it a difficult question? 3? I need 20 at least. Autonomy, autonomy, autonomy. Autonomy. 4 answers. Is it difficult? Again. Is it difficult for you? Thank you, Dr. Nazik. Yes, very good. So again, autonomy, we have a lot of principles in 4 important principles we are going to discuss, okay? The principle of autonomy means that we are able to make decision for oneself. The patient has the ability to make decision for himself after knowing طبعا or taking a decision informed after knowing all the risk and benefit of treatment. So the autonomy means the right of patients to make their own decision. I have my autonomy, self-government. I can take my decision in my healthcare plan or medical care. Okay? Type. Which of the following is a key component of respecting a patient autonomy? Number A, providing the patient with all available treatment options. Number B, making decision on behalf of the patient to ensure the best outcome. Number C, prioritizing the well-being of the healthcare provider over the patient's choices. Number D, limiting patient involvement in decision-making to avoid confusion. يبقى which of the following, if I'm doing this, I'm doing this because it's very important to respect the patient autonomy. Number A, I'm going to provide the patient with all available treatment options. ولا I'm going to make decision on behalf of him to ensure best outcome. ولا I'm going to prioritize the well-being of the healthcare providers over the patient choices. ولا number D, I'm going to limit his involvement in decision making. Autonomy. I want him to share in decision making. I'm not thinking about my interest or only the best outcome. I want him to take an informed decision, to have a role in decision making procedure, to decide with me, partnership with me, but he cannot do this without my help by good communication between the doctor and the patient, by explaining the treatment, the diagnosis, the prognosis, all. So thank you. It is very good. It is providing the patient with all available treatment option, because principle of autonomy to be implemented or well implemented, I have to discuss with my patient all the plan of medical care, the diagnosis, the prognosis, alternative treatment, and I'm going to respect his own decision making. I'm going to discuss, to maintain good communication, to describe to him, to be open and communicate with him, and to take informed consent on my plan for his medical care. Clear? Is this clear till now, the principle of autonomy? Does this mean, is this clear? Is this clear till now? Yes, okay, thank you. let's discuss another type. Informed consent is based on the principle of autonomy and involves one of the following. Number A, providing patients with all relevant information about their medical condition and treatment option. Number B, making medical decision on behalf of them. Number C, encouraging patients to blindly trust their healthcare provider judgment. Number D, restricting access to information to avoid causing unnecessary worry. يعني if you have solved the previous one, you can solve this one. Because informed consent, we need to provide the patient with all relevant information, ولا لو make decision on behalf of him, ولا encourage him to blindly trust me, or to restrict the patient access to information. Very good, very good. Thank you, Dr. Adel, Dr. Amira, very good. Very good, Dr. Abdurrahman, very good. Very good. Dr. Osama, what is Sheen? Dr. Aman, yes. Dr. Rawan, Rawa, Dr. Osama, yes. A. Okay, very good. Very good. Excellent. Type. Which of the following is an example of respecting the patient autonomy? يلا أنا غيرنا الترتيب. Withholding information from patients to maintain their emotional well-being. Sometimes the doctor said, I'm going to withhold the information from patient because I want to maintain their emotional well-being. Or making medical decision for patient without their consent. Or number C, involving patient in the decision-making process and considering their values and preference. Number D, prioritizing the physician's opinion over the patient's desire. So I'm respecting the autonomy through withholding information from patient, or making medical decision without their consent, or involving them in the decision-making process, or prioritizing my opinion. So I'm going to see what the answer. Yes, yes, yeah, thank you. So when I'm sharing the information about the treatment plan or his case and sharing with them the decision-making process and considering very well their value, their preferences, I'm respecting an important principle in medical ethics, which is autonomy. So if I am sharing treatment options with my patient, I am respecting which principle, which ethical principle. يبقى في 4 ethical principles I'm going to discuss with you today, which is the ethical principle that respect, if I'm sharing, يلا see my question, if I'm sharing treatment option with my patient, I'm going to respect their decision making, their decision. I'm respecting which of the ethical principles? This is beneficence ولا autonomy ولا justice? This is beneficence ولا autonomy or justice? Yes, this is the first principle, autonomy. I'm sharing with them the treatment option. I'm going to respect them. طيب. On the opposite بقى, paternalism in medical ethics, from its word is, refers to number A, the obligation of healthcare professionals to act in the best interest of their patient, ولا B, the right of patients to make their own decision about their medical care, ولا number C, the duty of healthcare professional to maintain patient confidentiality, ولا number D the principle of fairness and equality in healthcare؟ So the right of patient to make their own decision اللي هي number B. This is autonomy. I'm not asking about autonomy, I'm asking about paternalism. Duty to maintain confidentiality, this is confidentiality and patient privacy. The principle number D of fairness and equality, this is justice. So the B is autonomy, C is confidentiality, D is justice. So the answer will be number. So you can do it by exclusion. Yes, very good. By exclusion. Okay. Let's try back to discuss this case. A patient is diagnosed with a mental health condition and is prescribed medication by their psychiatrist. The patient expresses concerns about the potential side effects and wishes to explore alternative treatment options. What should the psychiatrist do? Yalla, let's read together. A patient is diagnosed with a mental health condition and is prescribed medication by their psychiatrist. The patient expresses concerns about the potential side effect and wishes to explore alternative treatment options. What should the psychiatrist do? Respect the patient autonomy and discuss alternative treatment if available, number A. ولا B, disregard concern and insist on the prescribed medication. ولا number C, consult other healthcare professional for their opinion. ولا number D, ignore the patient concern and emphasize the benefits of the prescribed medication. So we are discussing the principle of autonomy, and then I am discussing the in mental health problem. A psychiatrist described a medication, and the patient has a problem with this. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to, yes, of course, yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. I'm going to disregard the patient. Some of you said A or B. I'm going to disregard this concern. This is the application of the autonomy principle. The autonomy principle, I respect its decision. Okay? I respect its autonomy. Okay? Number A. Thank you. A. 3A. Okay? So, I'm going to respect its autonomy and discuss alternative treatment, especially if available. Okay? Another case. A patient requires a surgical procedures, but due to cultural and religious beliefs, they refuse a blood transfusion, even in life-threatening situation. The medical team believes that a blood transfusion is necessary for patient survival. What should the team do بقى? يعني there is a surgical procedure, but unfortunately due to some cultural belief, the patient refuse a blood transfusion. خلاص? In this cultural belief, they refuse the blood transfusion, and it is a necessity for the patient survival. What should the team do? Respect the patient autonomy and discuss alternative treatment, override the patient decision and proceed with the blood transfusion for the sake of their lives. Number C, consult the ethical committee for guidance. Number D, involve the patient's family and let them make the decision. And I'm going to respect all your answers. If you were in his situation, what are you going to do? Yes, some of you said B, some said C, some said A, some said D. What do you think? What is the best? I'm not going to make to select that the family will make the decision. I'm going to Of course, respect autonomy, we discuss alternative, and I'm going برضو to consult the ethical committee for guidance. I'm going to discuss with the patient. يعني okay. طيب, a patient is diagnosed with a rare medical condition and there are two treatment options available. The patient prefers one treatment option due to personal reason, but the healthcare team believes the other option would provide better clinical outcome. يبقى في two treatment available and the two treatment are available, but one is better than the other. But the patient, for personal reason, prefers the treatment option with the least outcome or not the better clinical outcome. So number A, I'm going to respect the patient's autonomy and proceed with the treatment option they prefer. ولا B, override its decision and pursue the treatment option that the healthcare team believes is better. ولا C, seek a third party opinion from another medical profession. ولا D, delay the decision and gather more information about both treatment option. Number A, respect its autonomy and proceed with the treatment option they prefer. ولا override the patient decision and pursue the treatment option. ولا seek a third party opinion from another medical professional. ولا D, delay the decision and gather more information about both treatment. Okay, يعني برضو I may gather more information, I discuss with him, I respect his autonomy. يعني in real life it is not an MCQ يعني. In real situation it is not an MCQ. يعني here we are doing the MCQ بس to confirm the principle of autonomy. But in real life it is not like that. طيب, if you are going to take the principle of beneficence, what is the principle of beneficence? So, the beneficent practitioners provide care that in the best interest of the patient. So in principle of autonomy, I respect the decision of the patient. I share with him information, treatment option, risks, benefit, diagnosis, prognosis, treatment, and I respect his decision. And in respecting the principle of beneficence, I am working in the best interest of the patient. Beneficence is the act of being kind. The action of healthcare providers are designed to bring positive outcome. Beneficence always raises the question of subjective and objective determination of benefit versus harm. A beneficent decision can only be objective if the same decision would be made regardless of who was making it. Traditionally, the ethical decision-making process and the ultimate decision were the determination of the physician. This is no longer the case because ethics, as we have said, changes by time. The patient and other healthcare providers, according to their specific expertise, are central to the decision-making process. Non-maleficence means doing no harm. Providers must ask themselves whether their action may harm the patient either by omission or commission. What is omission and commission? We are going to discuss them in the next slides. The guiding principle, first of all, don't harm, which is the Hippocratic Oath. Don't harm. Do not do harm. Action or practices of a healthcare provider are right as long as they are in the interest of the patient and avoid negative consequences. Harm by an act of omission means that some action could have been done to avoid harm but wasn't done. Omission would be failing to raise the sidebars on the patient's hospital bed upon which the patient fell out and was injured. So I'm doing harm to the patient by omission. I didn't raise the sidebars of the patient's hospital bed, so he fell out and was injured. An act of commission is something actually done that resulted in harm. An example of an act of commission would be delivering a medication in the wrong dose or to the wrong patient. So omission, I didn't do something which is essential to the patient to do not harm the patient. Commission, I did something that did harm to the patient through, for example, giving wrong medication or wrong dose to the patient. Case managers can be accused of maleficence by omission if they failed, for example, to coordinate a patient's care correctly. For example, discharging a patient to an inappropriate level of care or leaving a patient in a dangerous living situation. يبقى he's doing maleficence by omission. He didn't do what he should do. A key role for the case manager is to be an advocate for the patient, and neglecting this role could be maleficent. An unethical act of commission could be breaking confidentiality by releasing information that becomes harmful to patient. يبقى if he discharge the patient or leave the patient in a dangerous situation, he is doing maleficence by omission because he did not do what he should do. But act of commission, if, for example, he did something wrong, like breaking confidentiality with no accepted reason and release the information of the patient. So, if the caregiver or the nurse forget to raise the side bars of the patient bed, is this doing Can you answer the question in the chat box? So if the nurse forget to raise the sidebars of the patient bends and he fell and get injured or died, this is doing maleficence by omission or commission? If the nurse give wrong medication, is this a maleficence by commission if the nurse gives the wrong medication? What is the principle of doing no harm? What is the name of this principle? Beneficence and non-maleficence. Yes, very good. Thank you, Dr. Ziad. Okay, very good. Beneficence, non-maleficence. Okay. Type. Beneficence means number one, being kind. Number two, doing little harm. Number three, ensuring equal services for all. Number four, encouraging interdependence. Right. Beneficence means being kind. Number two, doing little harm. Number three, ensuring equal services. Number four, encouraging independence. Little harm. I'm going to do little harm. Do you agree that I'm going to do little harm? I should do no harm. No harm. Okay. Some of you choose number two. Why? Little harm. I'm doing the medical care for the patient to do little harm. Do you agree, all of you? Because we are going to do little harm to the patient. It's not a big harm يعني. يعني طبعا no little harm يعني إن شاء الله no harm بإذن الله. Okay, being kind. Beneficence means being kind, doing no harm. طيب, non-maleficence means, first of all, assess your patient. Number two, not being malicious. Number three, doing no harm. Number four, avoiding malpractice. So non-maleficence means beneficence, being kind, do the best outcome. Non-maleficence means number one or two or three or four. Is very good. Number three, doing no harm. طيب. The principle of beneficence in ethics refers to the duty to do not harm, the duty to promote the well-being of others, the duty to respect autonomy and individual rights, the duty to treat people fairly and justly. Number A, the duty to do no harm, the duty to promote the well-being of others. Number C, the duty to respect autonomy. Number D, the duty to treat people fairly and justly. What do you think? Number? Very good. Very good, Dr. Ziad. Very good. Very good. Very good. The duty to promote the well-being of others. Which of the following scenario best exemplifies the principle of beneficence? A doctor providing treatment to a patient without their informed consent. Is this beneficence? Number A. Or number B, a researcher conducting a study without considering the potential risks to participant. ولا number C, a nurse advocating for a patient best interested and ensuring they receive appropriate care. ولا number D, an employer refusing to provide necessary accommodation for an employee with a disability. يبقى principle of beneficence apply to what? When the doctor is providing a treatment to a patient without an informed consent? ولا when the researcher conducts a study without considering the potential risk to the participant? ولا when a nurse advocate for the patient best interested and ensure they receive appropriate care? ولا an employer refuse to provide necessary accommodation for an employee with disability? Which one of it? Yes, very good. Very good. Number C. Yes, very good. I think we can take our break for 15 minutes. Meet, يلا break. I think we can take our break now. See you. Right, welcome back. Yeah, in our first part of lecture, we discussed the history of medical ethics. We said that the landmark was in Hippocratic Oath 2,500 years ago, and then the Declaration of Geneva in 1948, then International Code of Medical Ethics, then the Declaration of Helsinki for Medical Ethics Research or Ethical Research Ethics in 1964. And then we discussed the 4 principles for ethical consideration. We discussed 2 approaches, 2 different approaches to take an ethical decision making. Maybe rational or maybe irrational or non-rational approach. The non-rational approach, like obedience to the authority, imitation of a role model, habit, feeling, desire, intuition, and then the rational approach based on rule, on thinking about the consequences, and based on ethical principles. We discussed 2 main ethical principles: the autonomy, which is the patient right to share decision in his treatment, self-government. But to respect his autonomy, we should explain to him all the different treatment options, his condition, his diagnosis, his prognosis, and respect his treatment choice. As regard the beneficence, we are kind to the patient. Non-maleficence, we do not do harm for the patient. Sometimes maleficence by omission is done. Sometimes maleficence by commission is done. Let's discuss our remaining بقى lecture. Hi, أهلا. طيب. A social worker is faced with a dilemma involving a client's safety and well-being. The principle of beneficence would guide the social worker to: number A, respect the autonomy and allow them to make decisions. This is the principle of autonomy. Number B, prioritize the social own interest and professional reputation. Number C, take action that promote the client's safety and well-being, even if it involves breaching confidentiality. Number D, disregard the client's wishes and make decision based solely on the social worker's professional judgment. What are you doing to do? Number A, B, C, D. I don't accept it. We didn't yet discuss the confidentiality and when to breach confidentiality. Okay. طيب. This was the last MCQ on beneficence. Let's discuss the 3rd principle of justice, or 4th principle. Justice speaks to equity and fairness in treatment. Hippocrates related ethical principles to the individual relationship between the patient and physician. Ethical practice today must extend beyond the individuals to the society. We have scarce resources. What to do in this situation? This means that in addition to providing fairness in treatment to the patient, the institution and staff must also be treated fairly. For example, it is not fair if a patient cannot make payments and the institution has to pay for the treatment already given for the patient's benefit. Justice may be seen as having 2 types: distributive and comparative. Distributive justice addresses the degree to which healthcare services are distributed equitably throughout the society. Okay? Type. Within the logic of distributive justice, we should treat similar cases similarly. But how can we determine if cases are indeed similar? Principle of justice: to each person an equal share. To each person according to need. To each person according to effort. To each person according to contribution. To each person according to merit. To each person according to free market exchanges. Looking at the principle of justice as they relate to the delivery of health care, it is apparent that they do conflict in many circumstances. For example, in a real-life system that attempts to provide an equal share to each person cannot distribute the limited resources. يعني we have a dilemma here or problem. We are guided by the principle of justice. And as we are seeing that justice means equity, fairness in treatment. We are guided by 6 principles. Each person equal share, according to need, according to effort, according to contribution. But we have limited resources. What to do in this situation? There is a finite end to money and resources within the budget of an organization. When good patient care demands more than the system has allocated, there may be a need for adjustment within the marketplace. An example would be when an insurance company has exhausted its allocated and contracted fund to care for a hospitalized patient. The insurance company can then demand that the patient be transferred to another facility of lesser cost. If, however, the acuity of patient is too high to be transferred, then the patient's healthcare costs continue to exceed the budget, which is inequitable for the insurance company. If the insurance company stops paying for service rendered, then it is inequitable to the hospital. If the hospital discharges the patient home before truly appropriate care for the patient, it becomes unequitable for the patient. Clearly, there are unfortunately real-life ethical and moral dilemma. Who is most important? Let's repeat, because I need your opinion. Because this is an example of many ethical dilemmas that we face every day. Insurance company has exhausted its allocated fund to care for a hospitalized patient. So the insurance company demands that the patient be transferred to another facility of lesser cost. But the patient, to be transferred, this is too high risk. Okay? If the patient continues in the same hospital, the healthcare cost will continue to exceed the budget, which is inequitable to the insurance company. If the insurance company stops paying the services, it is inequitable for the hospital. If the hospital discharges the patient home before truly appropriate for the patient, it becomes inequitable for him. What to do? This is an example of ethical dilemma of every day. What is the best to do? Any thoughts? Like, if someone is going to say an ethical decision, please, when you say something, say, do you think you are rational or non-rational because you followed desire, habit, imitation, or rules and ethical guideline? Yani your first answer will be based on rational or non-rational approach. Yes. Which one بقى non-rational? Yani there is a problem with the hospital because the company may stop paying. If the company continue paying, this is not fair for the company or the insurance. And if the patient leaves the hospital, this is not fair for the patient. So it's not easy. We are studying methodological ethics, but it is not easy, real life situation. And you may notice that when I'm asked you about your ethical decision making, you all go for the non-rational. At the first of the lecture, you agreed that you will always abide by the rational approach, which is not the case now. You changed your opinion in real life situation or real life case scenario. صح? True? Right? I'm right? Am I right? Thank you that you are honest enough with me and with yourself to say yes, rational is better, but we all mostly are going to follow our non-rational approach. Real life situation should be an ethical committee with the case manager who knows the ethical regulation, and we can discuss with them what is the best solution in this case, which differs from country to country, society to society, as we have said before. Comparative justice determines how healthcare is delivered at the individual level. It looks at disparate treatment of patients on the basis of age, disability, gender, race, religion. Of particular interest are the disparities that occur because of age. Bias as a result of age compared to gender or race is referred to practice as ageism. What is age بقى البروبلم? Equal access to healthcare does not exist due to variation in health insurance, socioeconomic level, third-party payer, availability of transportation even. There is valid concern about the distribution of resources, particularly as the population ages and the demand for services increases. How بقى البروبلم دي؟ Currently, those age 65 and older receive disproportionate levels of funding in healthcare because the number of individuals in that cohort continues to increase and because people tend to need more healthcare services when they are older. Equitable allocation of resources is an ever-increasing challenge as lives are extended through natural and technological means. So there is discussing that being old, they are receiving disproportionate level of fund from the healthcare because the number of them in this cohort is continue to increase and they receive a lot of services in this age. So there may be a problem in the problem of justice or ageism because the old age always take more healthcare services than the younger one. Some are discussing principle of veracity or trustfulness. It is not a foundational bioethical principle. يعني till justice they are foundational like Hippocrates said, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, autonomy. Sometimes we are discussing the veracity, which is granted just as Passing mentioned. It is it is at its core respect for all person by being truthful. Veracity is the opposite of the concept of paternalism, which assumes patients need to know only what their physician chose to reveal. Obviously, there has been a dramatic change in attitude toward veracity because it forms the basis for the autonomy expected by patients today. Informed consent is only possible if patients have been well informed of options, which then allows them to exercise autonomy with full knowledge. Decision about withholding information involve a conflict between veracity and deception. There are times when the legal system and the professional ethics agree that deception is legal. I don't know. Therapeutic privilege is invoked when the healthcare team makes the decision to withhold the information believed to be detrimental to the patient. Such a privilege is by its nature subject to challenge and is taken very seriously by ethics committee. When you withhold the information from the patient, be ready to answer the question of the law, legal committee or ethical committee, the family, the patient, why you withhold this information from them. So veracity means what? Paternalism, therapeutic privilege, legitimacy, while truthfulness founded on respect for person. I think we have said that veracity is the opposite of paternalism. So veracity means number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Fidelity is loyalty. It speaks to the special relationship developed between patient and their healthcare professional. Each owes the other loyalty, although the greater burden is on the provider to be worthy of the patient's trust and loyalty. Fidelity often results in a dilemma because a commitment made to a patient may not result in the best outcome for the patient. At the root of fidelity is the importance of keeping a promise and being true to your word. Individuals see this differently. Some are able to justify the importance of promise at almost any cost, and others are able to set aside the promise if an action could be detrimental to the patient. For example, if a physician promises the patient that they will always be there to care for them, yet they leave the organization and join another healthcare facility, the patient may feel the physician betrayed their loyalty. The same may occur with the case manager who promises the patient and family they will be so when I am loyal to my patient, this may poses a great burden on me because when sometimes the patient feels when I leave the organization that I betrayed him, which is not true. So to summarize, there were four main principles, and we discussed the final two of veracity and fidelity. But the main four principles, all the principles, were based on autonomy, justice, beneficence, and non-maleficence. What is the primary goal of medical ethics? Number A, to maximize profit for the healthcare providers. Number B, to provide the best possible medical treatment. Number C, to balance the patient autonomy and well-being. Number D, to prioritize the interest of the healthcare system. So when we are studying like now medical ethics, we want to maximize our profit as a healthcare provider, ولا to provide the best possible medical treatment. We are not discussing science, scientific knowledge. ولا to balance patient autonomy and well-being, ولا دي to prioritize the interest of the healthcare system. I think, Dr. Nazik, when we are saying best possible medical treatment, I think we are discussing the scientific knowledge in each domain, يعني, not the medical ethics. You agree with me? يعني provide the best, it means here provide the best medical intervention, يعني. I think here medical treatment means medical treatment, يعني capsule, the drugs, يعني it doesn't cover the medical ethics, يعني. Maybe not clear. So the best answer will be that if we have to select one best answers, we are going to select number C, which is to balance the patient autonomy and the well-being. Which ethical principle emphasizes the duty to do no harm to the patient? Number A, autonomy. Number B, beneficence. Number C, non-maleficence. Number D, justice. I'm going to make it more difficult question. I'm going to write down each principle and you are going to put just one word in front of it. Can you do this with me? يعني I hope you can. يعني if I'm going to say the principle autonomy and I want one word, what are you going to say? It's more difficult, but I will be sure that you understand if you can share this. So when I'm saying autonomy, this means what? One word, two words, what's meant by autonomy? This is the core of the lecture. I want it to be clear. I want it to be clear to all of you. What is autonomy? Free to take your own decision, independence, okay, no problem. Self-decision, yes. Okay. Self-rule, independence, yes. Patient have the right to make his own decision. Very good, Dr. Osama. Self, Dr. Hamad, very good. Type. One word for beneficence. What about the principle of beneficence? One word. Yes, very good, Dr. Amani, thank you. Being kind, being good, very good. Working in the best interest of the patient, very good. Type. One word for non-maleficence. Thank you, Dr. Nazik, very good. Dr. Nazik. Yes. Do not harm, don't harm. Type. One word for justice. Quality, equity. Justice is equity. Okay. So the answer of our question will be: which ethical principle emphasizes the duty to do no harm for the patient? Will be A or B or C or D? Yes, very good. Very good, Dr. Afnan. Very good. Very good, Dr. Mahmoud. Dr. Anwar, yes. Dr. Rauda, very good. Okay. Number C. Do you know two subtypes of maleficence? Can you tell me two subtypes for maleficence? Can you remember two subtypes of maleficence? By and by? By? Can I help you? By and by? Is this helpful? Yes, Dr. Amani. Okay, yes, Nazik, very good. By O and C, yes. Which ethical principle focus on promoting the well-being and best interest of the patient? Number A, autonomy. Number B, beneficence. Number C, non-maleficence. Number D, justice. Thank you, Dr. Awan, Dr. Nazik, Dr. Afnan. Thank you. If I'm promoting the well-being and best interest of patient, I'm doing what principle? I'm following which principle? Yes, Dr. Anwar. Yes, Dr. Amin. Okay. Beneficence. Which ethical principle emphasize the equal and fair distribution of healthcare resources? Autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice. Equal and fair distribution of healthcare resources. Very good, Dr. Afnan. Very good, Dr. Nazik. Very good, Dr. Amin. So I'm going to ask a difficult question. If I'm following these principles, these ethical principles, I am rational or non-rational approach? I'm following one of these principles or all these principles. I am being rational in my ethical decision making or non-rational? Very good, Dr. Ziad. Very good, Dr. Afnan. Very good, Dr. Amani. Very good, Dr. Adel. Very good. Very good, Dr. Nazik. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. طيب. I haven't discussed the confidentiality yet, but I'm going to ask this question and see what do you know. Which of the following is an example of a breach of patient confidentiality? Number E, when I'm sharing patient information with other healthcare professionals that are already involved in the patient care. Well, number B, when I am disclosing the patient information to a family member with the patient consent. Well, number C, when I'm sharing patient information on social media without the patient's consent. Well, number D, when I am providing necessary information to insurance companies for billing purposes. Which of the following is an example of a breach of patient confidentiality? When I'm going to share it with other healthcare professional already involved in the care, in his care, ولا with the family member with his consent, ولا with the insurance company, ولا with social media without his consent. Very good. Very good, doctor. So number C, I'm breaching it's his confidentiality if I'm doing number C. Very good. Type informed consent involves providing detailed medical information to patient. This is number A. Number B, obtaining written permission from patient for any medical procedure. Well, number B, C, ensuring patient have a full understanding of the risk and benefit of treatment. Well, number D, allowing patient to make decision without any input from healthcare providers. Okay, very good. Type. Which of the following is an example of an ethical dilemma in healthcare? Number A, when I have a problem in choosing the most effective treatment of a patient. Well, number B, when I'm following established medical guideline. Well, number C, when providing care to patient regardless of their ability to pay. Well, number D, when balancing the confidentiality of patient information with the need to protect public health. Think about it. Which of the following is an example of an ethical dilemma in healthcare? When I'm thinking how to choose and the most effective treatment, ولا when I'm following the established medical guideline, ولا when I'm providing care to patients regardless of their ability to pay, when I'm balancing the confidentiality of patient information with the need to protect public health. Which of them is an ethical dilemma? Very good, Dr. Rauda, Dr. Anwar, very good. Okay. طيب. What will be the purpose of an ethics committee in a healthcare setting? To enforce strict regulation on healthcare providers? ولا to make medical decision on behalf of the patient? ولا number C, to provide guidance and support in resolving ethical dilemma? ولا number D, to evaluate the financial performance of healthcare facilities? يبقى I'm having an ethics committee in my healthcare facility. Its role is to enforce the strict regulation on healthcare providers, ولا to make the medical decision on behalf of the patient, ولا provide the guidance and support in resolving ethical dilemma. And when I'm having ethical dilemma, I can refer to them to discuss the issue, to get guidance and support. ولا number D, to evaluate the financial performance. What do you think? Very good, very good. So I am having ethical committee. I'm studying now the course of medical ethics. I knew the history of medical ethics. I knew the different style of approach in ethical decision making. I knew that rationale is very good, and we have ethical standards that may differ from country to country, but we have common ground, common or similarity between us, and we have an ethical guideline to follow. Although we have the 4 principles and the principle of the ethics, sometimes it is difficult to solve an ethical dilemma. So I can refer to the ethical committee to help me, to the case manager, to help me solving this ethical dilemma. Okay? Type. Is everything clear till now? And can I proceed? I hope, يعني. Can I proceed? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Type. Which of the following is an example of paternalism in healthcare? When I'm respecting the patient right to refuse treatment, I'm doing paternalism. Well, number B, when I'm providing patient with all relevant information to make informed consent. Well, number C, when I'm making medical decision on behalf of the patient without their consent. Well, number D, when I'm collaborating with patient to develop a treatment plan. Remember that paternalism is the opposite of veracity. Okay? So respecting the old way, the old school of treatment of patient, where the paternalism, the patient, the providers will what? We respect the patient. When he refuses, we'll provide him with relevant information, we'll collaborate with him, or we'll make medical decision on behalf of him. If I'm going to use the old school of paternalism. Why you are saying the paternalism? The physician knows better. This is the old school. The physician knows better. So it's not D. Is this clear? The old school. The old school. The physician or provider. Okay, I'm going to repeat it. The providers, the paternalism is the old school. When I was asking you if medical ethics changed over time, some of you said yes, some said no. So I said at the beginning of the lecture that in the past, the physician decision-making or the plan of the health plan for treatment of the patient was totally the responsibility of the provider because he knows better. He knows what is right for the patient. Then over time, this changed a lot, and we cannot take or impose a treatment plan to patient without discussing with them the treatment option, without respecting their autonomy, without taking their informed consent. So if I am going to not abide by this principle and respect the old school of paternalism, I'm going to make what? Paternalism. The physician knows better, so I don't think he is going to respect the opinion of the patient. He is going to do what? He knows better. He is going to take this decision all by his own. This is the old school. So he's going to do what? Number A or B or C or D? B. Paternalism, this is the old school. Autonomy, this is the new school. I'm going to respect his right. I'm going to provide with all relevant information. Did you hear what I said? Did anyone hear what I said? I'm saying paternalism is an old school. The provider takes the decision and then you select the best option is number B. How is that? Are you following me? And some of you are saying, of course, B. Number E and B is very good, and number D is very good. And this is the new school. I think the worst one is number C. C, Dr. Adel. Yes, C. Yes, but your colleagues are don't agree. Okay. I will ask this MCQ by the end of the lecture. If I took the same answer, I will be very disappointed. Okay. We didn't take confidentiality, so let's postpone this question. What is the purpose of Hippocratic Oath? To protect the financial interests of healthcare provider, to outline ethical responsibility and obligation of healthcare provider, to prioritize the well-being of healthcare organization, to enforce strict regulation on medical research. I think Hippocratic Oath was not about medical research yet. This was the declaration of health ethics. But the oath of the Hippocratic was number E or B or C or D? 2,500 years ago. Yes, very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay. طيب خلينا كده نجرب. Let's try to solve this problem. When might a healthcare provider breach patient confidentiality? يعني he is allowed to breach confidentiality in which situation? When the patient requests their information be shared with the family member, ولا number B when there is a legal requirement to report certain condition زي infectious disease, ولا when the patient is a minor and their parent requests information, ولا when the healthcare provider believes it is in the patient's best interest. Best answer will be best answer. I cannot say that C is wrong. Yeah, طبعا I cannot say this. طيب. Let's الأول discuss confidentiality and then come back to it. Let's discuss بقى physician and patient. Key principles that we should follow in the relation between the physician and patient. doctor-patient relationship, we should follow the respect and equal treatment, the communication and taking consent, the decision-making for incompetent patient, confidentiality. Those are the four main that we are going to discuss. Respect, not to permit consideration of age, disease, or disability, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. Respect for patient requires that physicians do not put them at any avoidable risk of harm during treatment. The trust that is essential to the physician-patient relationship has generally been interpreted to mean that physicians should not desert patients whose care they have undertaken. So when I'm respecting my patient, I'm not going to do harm to him. I'm going to respect his autonomy. I'm going to discuss with him my treatment plan. I'm going to respect his choices. I'm going to respect him. When I'm doing communication and consent, I have an informed consent, which is one of the central concepts of the present or today medical ethics. The right of patient to make decisions about their health care has been protected by legal and ethical statements throughout the world. Informed consent requires very good communication between the physician and patient. Communication requires much more of the physician. They must provide the patient with all the information the patient needs to make their decision. This involves explaining complex medical treatment in simple language, treatment option, advantage of this and disadvantage of it, answering each question they may have, understanding whatever decision the patient may reach, and if possible, the reason for it. Good communication skills do not come naturally to most people. They must be developed and maintained with conscious effort and periodic review. Decision-making for incompetent patients. Many patients are not competent to make decisions for themselves. Example, اللي هم psychiatric, neurological condition, the temporary unconscious or comatose. These patients require substitute decision maker. If the patient is unconscious or otherwise unable to express his or her will, informed consent must be obtained whenever possible from a legal entitled representative. Till now, we have discussing the respect. I'm respecting my patient. Nothing will intervene with my duty and my patient, between me and my patient. I'm not going to permit consideration of age, disease, disabilities, gender, nationality, political affiliation, sexual orientation to make a problem or barrier between me and my patient. I'm going to respect or avoid any risk of harm. I'm going to gain his trust. Good communication is not easy. I need to use all my communication skills and to develop my communication skills to be able to explain to my patient all the treatment plan, the treatment alternatives, the solution, the advantage and disadvantage of each treatment, and discuss in details because I'm going to take an informed consent. The decision making for incompetent patient is referred to a legally entitled representative. What about confidentiality? The physician's duty to keep patient information confidential has been a cornerstone of medical ethics. Informed consent is very important. Confidentiality is very important. It is ethical to disclose confidential information when the patient consents to it, or when there is a real and imminent threat of harm to the patient or to others. This threat can be only removed by a breach of confidentiality. The high value that is placed on confidentiality had three sources: autonomy, respect for others, and trust. Autonomy relates to confidentiality in that personal information about an individual belongs to him and should not be made known to others without his consent. يبقى الautonomy, I'm respecting the autonomy if I am having or respecting the confidentiality. I'm respecting the patient, I'm gaining his trust while I'm respecting confidentiality. So 3 sources for confidentiality. When I am respecting patient autonomy, when I'm respecting him and gaining his trust, I am following the confidentiality. Confidentiality is also important because human beings deserve respect. One important way of showing them respect is by preserving their privacy. The basis of this trust is the ethical and legal standards of confidentiality that healthcare professionals are expected to uphold. Without an understanding that their disclosure will be kept secret, patient may withhold personal information. يعني if the patient has يعني think that the doctor will disclose his personal information, he will not say, he will withhold his personal information from me. This can hinder physician or doctor-patient relationship, and we cannot make an effective intervention in this way. So the patient right to confidentiality is as follows. All identifiable information about patient health status, medical condition, diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment kept confidential even after death. Exceptionally, the descendant may have a right of access to information that would inform them for their health risk. Confidential information can only be disclosed if the patient gives explicit consent or if expressly provided for in law. Information can be disclosed to other healthcare providers only on a strict need-to-know basis. All identifiable patient data must be protected. The protection of the data must be appropriate to the manner of its storage. Human substance from which identifiable information can be derived must be likewise protected. Routine breaches of confidentiality occur frequently in most healthcare institutions. للphysician, للnurses, laboratory technician, students, when they require access to a patient health record in order to provide adequate care to that person. And for students اللي هم they want to learn how to practice medicine. These breaches of confidentiality are usually justified, but they should be kept to a minimum. Another generally accepted reason for breaching confidentiality is to comply with the legal requirement or fear of public health problem مثلا. طيب. Let's remember together 4 important principles of doctor and physician and patient relationship: respect and equal treatment, communication and consent, decision making for incompetent patient, and the most important, which is confidentiality. I'm going to ask question on the chat inbox. Please refer to the chat inbox. Can I breach sometimes confidentiality? Yes or no? I have 2 yes only. I have 2 yes, 3 yes. 4 yes. Yes, if necessary. Type. Can you tell me usually who knows the personal information of the patient? can say routine breaches of confidentiality. Yes, very good. Yes, healthcare providers and okay, I have routine breach of confidentiality to nurses, physician, laboratory technician, students. Let's start بقى to solve those case study. Dr. P, an experienced and skilled surgeon, is about to finish night duty at a medium-sized community hospital. A young woman is brought to the hospital by her mother, who leaves immediately after telling the intake nurse that she has to look after her other children. يبقى he is about to finish the night duty. Young woman came to the hospital with her mother. The mother left the young woman to eat because she has another child to take care of. The patient is bleeding vaginally, as is in a great deal of pain. Dr. P examines her and decides that she has had either a miscarriage or self-induced abortion. He does a quick dilatation and carotid and tells the nurse to ask the patient whether she can afford to stay in the hospital until it is safe for her to be discharged. Dr. Q comes in to replace Dr. P, who goes home without having spoken to the patient. What is your opinion? Do you want me to repeat the case? What is your opinion about what he has done? Do you agree what Dr. P has done? I'm going to repeat. He is very good surgeon. He's going to leave the hospital, but at the end of his night duty, a young woman came in bleeding with her mother who left her, and the patient is in great pain. So he decides that she has either miscarriage or self-induced abortion. So he did a quick dilatation and carotid and tells the nurse to tell her if she can afford to stay. And then he left the hospital, and Dr. Q comes to replace him without even having spoken to the patient. What do you think? Yes, it got many points. Say one. Each one can discuss one. Do you agree at first? Do you agree at what he has done? Agree or not? From medical point of view, medical ethics point of view. I'm talking about the physician, okay? Yes. Why don't you agree? Yes. What did he do wrong? What did he do wrong in this case? يعني in form of scientific, he is very skillful. He decided, he make the intervention, he stops the bleeding. What is the problem here? From scientific point of view, I think he is good. But what is there any problem with the ethical principles? Okay, Dr. Nozick. And what did you notice also? Did she respect the principle of autonomy? So according to analysis of patient relationship, Dr. P conduct was deficient in several aspects. Communication, he made no attempt to communicate with the patient regarding the cause of her condition or treatment option, or her ability to afford to stay in the hospital while she recovered. He didn't communicate with the patient whatsoever. Consent, he did not obtain her informed consent or tried even to obtain her consent. Compassion, his dealing with her displayed little compassion. His surgical treatment may have been highly competent, and he may have been tired at the end of the long shift, but that does not excuse the breaches of ethics. So the case again, he is an experienced and skilled surgeon. He is about to finish the night duty at a medium-sized hospital. A young woman is brought by her mother, who left her. The young patient has bleeding vaginally with pain. He examines her and decides that she had either miscarriage or self-induced abortion. So he took the decision all by himself, and he does a quick dilatation and curettage and tells the nurse to ask the patient whether she can afford to stay until it is safe for her to be discharged. Dr. Q counterplays and he goes home without having spoken. So, communication, he made no attempt to communicate, to explain her condition, treatment option, or ability to afford even. Consent, he didn't obtain her informed consent. Compassion, no compassion. And compassion is a very important aspect of doctor-patient relationship. Communication, they can consent. The patient should feel compassion with his case all the time. His surgical treatment might have been very competent, and he may have been tired, but that does not excuse the breaches of ethics. Clear? Is the case clear? Yes, Dr. Nazi, paternalism. Yes. Old school surgeon. Is this case clear? Clear? Can we proceed to another case? Yes. Okay. Dr. S is becoming increasingly frustrated with patients who come to her either before or after consulting another health practitioner for the same ailment or same disease. She considers this to be a waste of health resources as well as counterproductive for the health of the patient. She decides to tell these patients that she will no longer treat them if they continue to see other practitioners for the same disease. She intends to approach her national medical association to lobby the government to prevent this form of misallocation of healthcare resources. What do you think about this case? يبقى she has been approached by patients who have seen multiple health practitioners for the same reason. She considered it a waste of health resources. She decided that she will no longer waste her time, her effort, and treat patients who are continuing to see other practitioners. She intends even to approach the National Medical Association to lobby for this, because she thinks that this is a form of misallocation of healthcare resources. Do you agree with her? Is that okay with you? What do you want to discuss in this case? What do you want to tell her? Okay, this is يعني some of you said you don't agree. Anyone agree? Why you don't agree? And she thinks it is يعني she's caring about society. This is misallocation of health resources of that. It's not always right and wrong. It's not always black and white in ethical. Dr. S is right to consider the impact on society of her patient's behavior, even if the consultation with other healthcare practitioners occur outside the health system in which Dr. S works, and therefore do not entail any financial costs. يعني ممكن يكون ال practitioner is not in her health system. The patient is taking up Dr. S time that could be devoted to other patients in need of her services. However, physicians such as Dr. S must be cautious in dealing with situations such as this. Patients are often unable to make fully rational decisions for a variety of reasons and may need considerable time and health education and, as Dr. Nazik said, good communication to come to an understanding of what is in the best interest of themselves and of others. So, okay, she must feel compassion. She must appreciate that they need a lot of communication, health education, time to understand because they are not physicians like her. But also, she was also right to approach her medical association to seek a societal solution to this problem, since it affects not just herself and this one, but the patient and other physician and patient as well. يعني not totally right or not totally wrong. He should understand that the patient أو زي ما بنقول empathy and feel put herself in the shoes of the other and يعني think that patients sometimes difficult to understand. They need time, they need health education, good communication. But she's not totally wrong if she wants to approach the medical association to find a solution for this يعني waste of resources from her point of view. Okay? Yeah. Can you proceed to another case? Let's discuss another case. Dr. Siba, a newly appointed anesthetist anesthesia the city hospital is alarmed by the behavior of the senior surgeon in the operating room. The surgeon uses out-of-date technique that prolong the operation and result in greater post-operative pain. يبقى his surgeon colleague is using out-of-date technique that prolongs the operation and result in greater post-operative pain and longer recovery time. Moreover, he makes frequent crude jokes about the patient that obviously were bothered by bother the assisting nurses. As a more junior staff, Dr. C is reluctant to criticize the surgeon. personally or to report him to higher authority. However, he feels that he must do something to improve the situation. What should he do? يبقى he has a senior surgeon colleague. He is using all the technique that prolong the operation, make post-operative pain, post-operative long recovery time, and frequent crude jokes about the patient with the nurses. And he is senior. He is reluctant to criticize him personally. He is afraid to report him to higher authority. What do you feel? What do you feel he should do? What should he do? What do you suggest? Yes, very good, Dr. Nazir. Totally agree. Do you all of us agree that he should do something? Do you agree all? Okay, you agree with me that we should do something about it. Okay, what are we going to do? Dr. C is right to be alarmed by the behavior of the senior surgeon in the operating room. Not only is endangering the health of the patient, but he is being disrespectful to the patient and colleague. Dr. C has an ethical duty not to ignore this behavior, but to do something about it, as you said. The first step, he should not indicate any support for the offensive behavior. For example, he should not laugh at his jokes. If he thinks that discussing the matter with the surgeon might be effective, he should go ahead and do this. Otherwise, he may have to go directly to higher authority in the hospital. If they are unwilling to deal with the situation, then he can approach the appropriate physician licensed body and ask it to investigate. يبقى first of all, don't laugh at his jokes. Then you can talk with him if it might be effective. And finally, go to higher authority. So he should do something. He can do a lot of things. Clear? طيب. Do you agree with me that ethical decision making has become more complex as you have seen? Because the Hippocratic Oath has long been outdated, while a society today steeped in immorality, while organizational priorities and financial pressure affect everyday decision, while there are no more rules today than earlier times. Select what you want. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think? Why ethics today is very difficult? You saw it, ماشي يا دكتور نازك. I totally respect your honesty. Yeah. When did you notice يعني the answer. ماشي. Okay. Respect the honesty of Dr. Afnan and Dr. Nazik. Okay. طيب. يلا. Let's discuss. At the center of the patient health professional relationship is loyalty, affection, sincerity, ولا trust? You want me to برضو show you the answer and you select what I'm showing you? So 1 ولا 2 ولا 3 ولا 4? Very good. Very good. Okay. Healthcare ethics are unique because patients are vulnerable, ولا a lot of money is involved, ولا healthcare workers care about people, ولا patients have complete autonomy. Why healthcare ethics are unique and we care about it and we are afraid that they might be non-ethical behavior. We care about healthcare ethics because, thank you, Dr. Nozick. Because very good patients are vulnerable. Type. Each of us has a moral threshold, a bar below which we will not compromise. To compromise below your moral threshold is to compromise your personal integrity. I think this is clear. We have a moral threshold. If we are going to act below our threshold and compromise this threshold, we are going to compromise my personal integrity. Why do people who know what the ethically correct decision fail to take action even when action is clearly necessary? يعني we know what is ethically correct, just as Dr. C, but he didn't do an action, or he was discussing what to do. He was a junior staff working with a surgeon senior staff who is following bad techniques, old technique, and making very bad jokes. What makes him not capable of taking the correct decision? Because ethical behavior is not as strongly influenced by moral judgment, moral potency. Moral potency, which is the capacity to generate responsibility and motivation to take moral action in face of adversity and to persevere through challenges. So if I am having the capacity to act according to my ethical principles, I am having a moral potency. Moral potency is built on moral ownership, a sense of responsibility to take ethical action when faced with ethical issue. Moral efficacy, the beliefs of individuals that they can organize and mobilize to carry out an ethical action. And the moral courage, the courage to face threats and overcome fears to act. So, what I have a moral threshold. When I am going to compromise this threshold, I'm going to compromise my personal integrity. Why I'm having I know the ethically correct action or decision, and I'm not following it because I don't have a moral potency. It is the capacity to generate responsibility and motivation. The moral potency is built on moral ownership. I feel a sense of responsibility that to take an ethical action. I have moral efficacy, believe that I can organize and carry out this ethical action. I have the courage to face threats and overcome fears. So when you lower your moral threshold, you what? You number one, compromise your integrity. Well, you open your mind to new idea. Well, you increase your awareness of complex issue. Well, you recognize the reality of healthcare. 1 ولا 2 ولا 3 ولا 4. Thank you, Dr. Raud. Thank you, Dr. Nazik. Very good. For those who forget Each of us has a moral threshold, a bar below which we will not compromise. If you are going to compromise my moral threshold, I am going to compromise my personal integrity. So the MCQ, when you lower your moral threshold, you are going to what? دكتور عادل 1111 مش يا دكتور عادل. I'm going برضو to read the question 3 times for you. What to do? I have 241 attendants and participant, and I have the answer from 3. I cannot pass to the another question unless I have at least مثلا 10 correct answer. شكرا دكتور صلاح. Thank you. شكرا دكتور فيصل. طيب moral potency بقى is repeating an action until you get the results you want, ولا the capacity number 2 to take moral action responsibility in the face of adversity, ولا 3 being willing to express your religious beliefs across all settings, ولا 4 doing the right thing. Potency. Thank you دكتور عادل. دكتور نازك. دكتور ريان. Very good. Number 2. Dr. S is a physician treating a patient with terminal cancer. The patient is experiencing severe pain, and Dr. Smith believes that increasing the dosage of opioid would alleviate the pain significantly. However, doing so could also accelerate the patient's death. What should he do? Dr. S should engage in open and honest communication with the patient, explaining the potential benefit and risk of increasing the opioid dosage. It is important to respect the patient autonomy and involve them in decision-making process. What is the needed skills in this case? He needs to have what skill? What is okay, no problem. Compassion, communication skills. If the patient understands the risk and agrees to the increased dosage, Dr. S can proceed with the treatment, ensuring adequate pain management while simultaneously considering the patient comfort and quality of life. If he respects the patient decision, he is following which principle? If he respects the patient decision, which of the following principle? Very good. Following principle. Autonomy. Okay. ولا beneficence ولا justice. طيب, we have a dilemma here. Dr. J is a surgeon. Dr. J is a surgeon faced with a dilemma. A patient urgently needs a liver transplant to survive, but the only available liver matches belong to 2 patients who have been on the waiting list for a longer time. Who should Dr. J prioritize? Real life scenario. What to do بقى? How to apply the principle of justice in this case? يبقى in the first case, he respects the autonomy. In this case, how to apply the principle of justice? And paternalism. You contact ethics committee to help to to ask them for guidance and support. Totally agree, Dr. Nazik. Yes, we have said if we have an ethical dilemma and we don't know what to do, we can contact all the time the ethical guideline committee to give us guideline and support. Yes, totally agree. Okay, Dr. G should follow the principle of justice and fairness in this situation. The allocation of organs should typically be based on objective criteria such as medical urgency and compatibility. Excellent. Therefore, the patient in immediate need of a liver transplant should be prioritized over those who have been waiting longer, as the urgency of the situation takes precedence. Okay, very good. Type Nurse D discovers that a fellow nurse has been administering incorrect dosage of medication to patients due to the negligence. Nurse D is concerned about patient safety. What should Nurse D do? Well, she has similar that like surgeon. She is giving wrong dosage of medication to patient. She is concerned about the patient safety. What should she do in this case? No, she might do a maleficence by commission because she is giving wrong dosage. What to do in this situation? So she has an ethical obligation to ensure patient safety and report any wrongdoing. She should follow the proper chain of command. Very good. And report the issue to her supervisor or the hospital administration. Very good. She has an ethical obligation to ensure safety and report any wrongdoing. She should follow the proper chain of command and report the issue to her supervisor or the hospital administration. Additionally, if there are protocols in place for reporting such incident, Nurse D should follow those guidelines as well. Dr. R, an experienced physician, is approached by a pharmaceutical company to conduct a clinical trial for a new drug. The company offers a significant financial incentive for Dr. R to participate. Should Dr. R accept the offer or not? Dr. R is approached by a pharmaceutical company to conduct a clinical trial for a new drug. The company offers a significant financial incentive. What to do بقى in this situation if you were in his place? ماذا تفعل لو كنت مكاني؟ Significant financial incentive. Yes, Dr. Nazik, very good. Very good. Dr. R must consider the potential conflict of interest in this situation. Financial incentive could compromise objectivity and potentially influence his decision-making. To maintain ethical integrity, Dr. R should carefully evaluate, as Dr. Nazik said, the trial's protocol, ensure it aligns with ethical guidelines, and consider any potential risks to patient safety. If Dr. R determines that the trial is scientifically valid and ethically sound, he may participate, but the financial incentive should not affect his decision. يبقى we have a pharmaceutical company who is approaching a physician with a huge amount of money to participate in a clinical trial of a new drug. We are afraid of the potential conflict of interest. So because the financial incentive may compromise the objectivity. To ensure his ethical integrity, the Dr. R should evaluate the protocol, the ethical guideline, and consider any risk. And if he determines that it is scientifically valid and sound, he may participate, but not impressed. The financial incentive should not influence his decision. Clear? even though okay دكتور عبد اللطيف هو doesn't want him to he cares about the conflict of interest, he doesn't want him to participate. I total respect for your decision. This is your decision and this is your discussion, this is your case. Okay, let's go يعني more Dr. T has a patient who urgently needs a transplant. Let's go for another issue اللي هي Dr. A is a primary physician, primary care physician who has a patient with a contagious and potentially life-threatening disease. The patient refuses to follow the recommended treatment and insists on leaving the hospital against medical advice. He's infectious, communicable disease, he can spread it to the community. Should Dr. A respect the patient's autonomy or intervene to protect the public health? Infectious, can spread the infection. Yes. شكرا دكتور عادل. Protect the public health. Intervene. Very good. Okay. In this case, Dr. E must balance the patient autonomy with the duty to protect public health. While respecting the patient autonomy is crucial, it may be ethically justified to override the patient decision if there is a significant risk to others. Dr. A should consult with the hospital ethics committee and public health authority to determine the appropriate course of action, ensuring that the patient's rights are respected while taking necessary measures to prevent harm to others. Okay? يعني برضو we can refer to the ethics committee, to public health authority, to ensure the situation because we want to respect the autonomy, but we don't want to cause harm to the public. Dr. M is a psychiatrist treating a patient who has expressed suicidal thoughts. The patient has refused any form of hospitalization or intensive treatment. Can Dr. M breach patient confidentiality to ensure the patient safety? What do you think بقى? He's going to commit suicide or commit a crime. And there is confidentiality principle. And the patient refused to be hospitalized. What to do بقى? What should the psychiatrist do in this situation? Should he break the confidentiality to ensure the patient safety? In situation where there is a serious and immediate risk of harm to the patient or others, breaching patient confidentiality may be ethically justifiable. Dr. M should carefully evaluate the severity of the situation and consider consulting with colleagues, ethics committee, and relevant laws and regulations. If there is a reasonable belief that the patient's life is in imminent danger, Dr. M may disclose necessary information to appropriate authorities or involve the patient support network to ensure the patient's safety. يبقى he can be ethically justifiable to breach confidentiality in this situation because there is a danger or risk of harm to the patient or others. After always consulting the ethics committee, the guidelines, the laws, the regulation. طيب. طيب. If nurse G works in a hospital that routinely experiences staff shortage, one day she is asked to work an extra shift without adequate rest, potentially compromising patient safety. You know, the long shift to long hours to work, but we are compromising the patient safety. Should nurse G accept the request? Nurse G must prioritize the patient's safety and well-being. Working without sufficient rest can lead to fatigue, impairing a nurse's ability to provide optimal care. Accepting the request under such condition could potentially endanger patients. So should discuss her concern with the nursing supervisor or hospital administration, highlighting the potential risk associated with working without adequate rest. The hospital administration is responsible for ensuring adequate staffing level to maintain patient safety, and they should address the situation accordingly. Type. If Dr. R is a physician who has been asked by a patient to provide a medical certificate falsely stating that the patient is unfit to work due to non-existing medical condition, يبقى he wants him to lie. Should Dr. R comply with the patient request? No. What should he do else? He should. Dr. R must uphold professional integrity and honesty in medical practice. Providing a false medical certificate is unethical and potentially illegal. Dr. R should explain to the patient that honesty is paramount in the doctor-patient relationship and that providing a false certificate is not ethically justifiable. And if the patient insists on obtaining this certificate, Dr. R should consider terminating the doctor-patient relationship and informing appropriate authority if necessary. When case managers act to correct a situation, they are exhibiting moral sensitivity, moral judgment, moral motivation, or moral courage. They act to correct an ethical situation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Acting. He's already acting. He does the correct answer. He does. Okay. Moral courage. Okay. When case manager recognize an ethical problem but take no action بقى, it is called ethical distress, ethical dilemma, ethical temptation, or ethical silence. No action. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Ethical silence. In our last 10 minutes بقى, the summary, we have four important principles of ethics. We have 2 approaches for ethical consideration or ethical decision making. We may use the non-rational approach, feeling, desire, imitation, habit, obedience. We may follow the rational approach, good consequence, good outcome, ethical principles. There is a long history of ethical standards. Autonomy, I should respect the patient. Type. We can revise and be sure that we understand our lecture through answering those very simple questions. What is the principle of autonomy in medical ethics? The duty to do no harm, ولا the duty to provide equity access to health care, ولا the duty to respect patients' right to make decisions about their own health care, ولا the duty to maintain confidentiality? A, B, C, D. I want 10 correct answers. 10 correct answers after all this long lecture. Autonomy. Yes, very good. Very good. I want يعني all correct answer. Yes, very good. C. Autonomy. The duty to. Yes, very good. Okay. The duty to respect patient right to make decision about their own health care. What is the principle of beneficence? To do no harm, equal access, respect the patient rights, while promote well-being and best interest of patient. Beneficence. A, B, C, D. beneficence. يلا, I want to give you all 100% in this lecture. يلا, medical ethics principle. Very good, دكتور عودة, دكتور زياد, very good, very good. دكتور حسين, very good. I want to do beneficence for my patient. I want to promote their well-being and best interest. Very good. طيب, what is the principle of non-maleficence in medical ethics? Do not harm, equal access, respect the patient, promote well-being. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. Non-maleficence. Non-maleficence. A. Very good, very good, very good, very good, very good. Okay. طيب. Justice بقى. The last principle. No harm ولا equal access ولا respect ولا promote the well-being and best interests of patients. B. Sorry, B. Sorry, B. The duty to provide equal access. Yes, very good. B. Very good. Justice, equal access. طيب. Which principle emphasize the importance of maintaining confidentiality? Do you remember confidentiality? When we are maintaining confidentiality, we are respecting what? Autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, ولا justice? Do you remember? Confidentiality. Confidentiality. Why am I maintaining the confidentiality? Because I respect the patient, I want to gain his trust, and I want to respect the autonomy. Autonomy. We said in the lecture that when I'm doing my respecting the confidentiality, I'm respecting three things. Autonomy, I respect my patient, I respect his data, I gain his trust. So the principle which emphasizes the importance of maintaining patient confidentiality is autonomy. Type. What does the term informed consent mean in medical ethics? Consent given by a patient who has been fully informed about their treatment option, risk or benefit, ولا consent given by a family member, ولا consent given by a patient without any information, ولا consent given by a patient after the treatment has been completed and we finished. A, B, C, D. أكيد informed consent will be number. Very good. A. Very good. Type. What is the principle of veracity in medical ethics? Do not harm, ولا equal access, ولا patient rights اللي هي autonomy, ولا truthful and honest. Veracity. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. Veracity. Veracity. Do not harm. Do not harm is non-maleficence. Equal access, justice. Number C, autonomy. So veracity will be A is non-maleficence, B is justice, C is autonomy. So veracity will be yes, Dr. Ghadir, will be Dr. Hanan. No, B is justice, A is non-maleficence, C is autonomy. So D will be type. What is the principle of confidentiality? No harm, ولا equal access, ولا respect, ولا the duty to protect patient information. And you can cheat. Yes. Respect the patient autonomy. This is autonomy. Respect the patient right to make decision. This is autonomy. Okay. So this is number D. طيب. What is the principle of paternalism in medical ethics? Do not harm, ولا equal access, ولا respect. Do not harm, non-maleficence. Equal access, justice. Respect patient right, it is autonomy. The duty to make decision in the best interest of the patient without their input بقى ولا consent, old school. So the answer will be D. Very good. Very good. Take home message بقى. Take home message. My take home message. Remember, it is important to remember that ethical dilemma often require careful consideration of multiple factors and consultation with colleagues, ethics committee, and relevant guidelines and regulation. This is my take-home message, please. Remember that ethical dilemma require careful consideration of multiple factors. Consult your colleagues, your ethical committee, refer to the guideline, to the regulation, to the law, to the International Code of Ethics. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you.